Hey guys, so today it was officially confirmed that the Attack on Titan collab would be coming to global. So now is as good a time as any to strike while the iron is hot and do some videos on Attack on Titan. So if I did this all in one go, this would be like a 40-minute to an hour video. So I'm going to be breaking this up in somewhere between 2 to 4 parts depending on how I'm feeling. I'm going to start today with the units, specifically the Attack on Titan specific units. There is 2 more units that I'm just going to quick give out, show off real quick. If I could even find them. Here it is. So this is Bado, and I'm sure you guys recognize him from SSM. He was a unit that was introduced with the Attack on Titan collab in Japan. I do not personally think he's going to be released with Attack on Titan in global. And the reason I think that is he is heavily linked to the Watatsumi Babel 2. And even though he is heavily featured inside of the collab, Sharon was also featured inside of the Belta collab, and Sharon did not become a unit at that time. So I think that Bado is likely going to share the same fate, and he will be released alongside Watatsumi Babel 2. However, there is another unit that I expect to be released and has not been confirmed yet, but this is Judith. And she is hands down the best unit from the entire collab. I'm just going to throw that out there. She is going to be long-term the best unit from this collab. She's a lot like Torito. She is basically tied to the collab, even though she herself isn't a collab unit per se. She is technically just a limited unit. She is a Thunder support, and she is arguably one of the best supports in the game, having an extremely offensive-oriented support kit. She can really bring out the potential in Thunder units. I highly suggest prizing her as the actual prize of this collab. She is easily the best character and has the most long-term use. However, we do have 4 more units that are actually related to Attack on Titan themselves, and the first one, how could we not start with Eren, the main character? So in Japan, Eren, if I remember correctly, was on a 3-step guaranteed with extra shards on steps 4 and 5. Don't quote me on that, it's been a while since I've seen the banner, almost a year actually. I think this came out in August. But he was, I believe, 3-step guaranteed, and he is probably going to be the second best unit of the Attack on Titan units themselves. And the reason I say that is because Eren is an incredibly good raider. And part of that is because of his leader skill of 40% HP, 40% physical attack, and 20% giant damage modifier. Now, you guys might not know what the giant damage modifier is, but essentially it is raid boss damage. You will do extra damage to any enemy that is larger than it should be. A giant enemy, most often these are raid bosses, although they do appear on a couple other maps. That leader skill alone is going to make him very much worth getting. Although Carla is a good substitute, Eren is going to let you run your fire team against just generally any element boss, while Carla's leader skill is only really good against wind bosses. Eren's leader skill is part of what made fire so potent against every element in the game for so long, along with Black Killer Masamune. He was the other key to that team's success. That leader skill alone is incredibly powerful. However, his kit is nothing to scoff at. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the best kit in the game, but it is a relatively strong kit. Definitely well suited for raiding, and I will go into their kits a little bit later when I go into a map. I'm also not going to be going over any of their equipment or Nensos in this video, as I will be doing that in a different video. So, let's move on to Levi. And just a real quick, these units do not have Kaigen in Japan, so do not expect me to give an analysis on their Kaigen. I might mention something about Eren, but we still don't even know what Mikasa and Levi and Hanji's Kaigens are going to look like, how good they'll be, and if this will really put them in a good place for long-term viability. So, I have Ott's Twin Blades on Levi for fun. All these units are Twin Blade units, by the way, so they're all going to benefit from either Twin Blades, or they can also benefit from the event limited gear, the Snow Globe from Christmas. They all, I believe, benefit from the weapon ability from that because they're Twin Blades. Let me just remove them. They're ruining the atmosphere. So, Levi is going to be the strongest damage unit from this collab. He's specifically designed to absolutely just annihilate giants, and almost all attack on units have some kind of giant modifier damage and backstab damage, and I'll show you why in a little bit. Levi is no exception to this. Levi has a charge up on his kit. He has insanely high damage modifiers on some of his skills. He is the damage unit, but he's also very frail. But he's also very quick. So, in general, in Japan, Levi is a great unit if you can keep him alive. And that's a big if. Nowadays in Japan content, he's just mostly getting murdered before he can really even do anything. Due to his low HP, he currently does have a 600 HP accessory on him. So there is that. Sorry about that. I messed up something. Anyways. Where was I? So, if I actually just remove this real quick, as you can see, his HP is, I mean, it's actually pretty good for a level 75 unit, to be honest, but it's very low by Japanese standards. So moving on then. The third best unit, and probably the big, I don't want Gunner. I want Mikasa. Probably the biggest letdown from this collab was Mikasa, and I think Mikasa's heart is in the right place, but I think she just doesn't pull off what her kit aims to do well enough. And what I'm really saying is she just does not do enough damage. She really doesn't. Don't get me wrong, Mikasa is good in the sense that she's not bad, but she's never going to be good in the sense that she excels above and beyond other Kaigen units. Now, in Global, when Mikasa drops, she is actually likely going to be very powerful, and that's just due to a lack of good water Kaigens. As more good water units get their Kaigens, like Yoros and Otima, expect Mikasa to feel kinda lackluster by comparison. However, she is getting her Kaigen, but you shouldn't get your hopes up too high, as she will not be receiving another JE, because Berserker does not have a JE to speak of. So it's not like Eren, where he's getting must spells. She is stuck with the JE she has, so she's not getting any extra stats that way. And it's very, very likely she's going to get a modified Chopping Spirit, because that's when they really like to push. And normally you do get your Kaigen skill on your JE. There's very few exceptions to this, but it's almost always on your JE. So she's likely going to have a modified Chopping Spirit, and I just don't see anything that can happen to Chopping Spirit that I've seen in the past that can really fix what's wrong with her. She's definitely the waifu unit, being the only actual female unit. Remember that we don't actually officially know what Hanji's gender is canonically. I believe that the anime does portray Hanji as female, but in this game, Hanji does not have a gender tag, so like male damage and female damage does not work on Hanji. I'll probably end up referring to Hanji as a her, though, because Hanji does look like a girl, but that's besides the point. Anyways, Mikasa is an okay unit, don't get me wrong. She's just, I do not think she's worth chasing, but you probably will find her excelling quite well at the start, but she is going to fall off pretty hard in the future, at least harder than Eren and Levi did. And now it's time for the black sheep of the group. It is Hanji. And Hanji is, just so you know, just pointing this out, Hanji does use a female character model. But, Hanji is a support unit. That she's just hands down a support unit. However, she does have good leader skill. 50% HP, 30% physical attack, and 10% accuracy. I forgot to go over Levi and Mikasa's leader skills, but I guess I can go back and do that. Anyways, Hanji just was never that good, to be honest. Light already has some decent support, and she's just really not needed. So, while Hanji is okay, and has a good leader skill. If you do get Hanji, I wouldn't use her more than just a leader skill. That's about it. I mean, if you really like Hanji, more power to you. I am curious though as to what they're going to give her a JE for, as Beastmaster JE is not available, and I'm not aware of any Kaigen passive upgrading off of Merchant. I could be wrong, but I just can't recall any off the top of my head. So it'll be interesting to see what they do for Hanji's Kaigen. Just a quick one over. Levi's leader skill is kind of lackluster because it's very specific. It's 40% HP, 40% slash damage modifier, and 20% light exploit. I mean, it's a really good leader skill for him and maybe Bashini, but it's not good for all dark units. Mikasa, however, does have a very good leader skill, and it actually looks just like Aaron's, just for water units. 40% HP, 40% physical attack, and 20% giant damage modifier. So let's go ahead and hop into the maps. And for those of you wondering, I pretty much do all of my videos in one take, which is why even though I kind of messed up my screen there for a minute, I'm going to keep trucking through, because it's not like I made a factual mistake. But I do make those occasionally too. So I have all of my units here, and I'm not going to be showcasing all of their skills. I'm just going to showcase a couple here. If I showcased everything, I'd be here forever, but you'll get a chance to see what they look like when we actually get them in global. Instead, I'll just be explaining what they do and kind of explaining how the units function. But I do need to get some jewels first. I'm not really going to go over what Hanji does, though, just because even I don't know what Hanji does. I just know it's not good enough. Anyways, so let's start with Levi's kit, just because he's the fastest, so he goes first. Where is it? Yeah, I have all of them pulled up right now. I'm just looking through them right now. Okay, so for the first skill, this is an AoE around Levi, and it is going to stun for 3 turns. Well, it's duration, action, start 3 turns, which means it's stunning for 2 turns, technically. That's very good if the target can be stunned. If they can't be, it's kind of worthless. The next attack is going to be his AoE attack, and most of the, in fact, I think all of the Attack on Titan AoEs do not hit your own units, so there is no friendly fire on their AoEs. Mikasa's and Levi's are both the square, while Aaron gets a 5x5 diamond. This is probably going to be, like, this is my favorite attack to use on Levi, to be honest, because Levi does have a charge up in his kit, and with this AoE, he can put down some serious hurt. I mean, he's got some good single target, too. Going back, that was 45 joules, 35 joules, and this is the reason why most of them have backstab modifiers. It's because they have a lot of skills that are going to land them behind the unit and attack them. And for anyone who has watched the Attack on Titan anime or read the manga, you will know that the Titan's weakness is on the back of their neck, which is why these attacks are the way they are. This 35 joule attack does ignore defense rates and is a multi-hit, so it's good at breaking shields too. These units have a lot of multi-hits because they're twin blades, so keep that in mind. So the big hitter in his kit is going to be this attack here, and it is going to inflict no heal, as well as doing a substantial amount of damage. The no heal is pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. So if we go into his sub real quick, you'll notice that there is a 3 times charge up, which is basically a Holy Brawler charge up. It costs 15 joules. All in all, I mean, it's just a charge up on his own kit, so he doesn't have to have Holy Brawler in it. Lets him run other jobs, which is pretty nice because he does get the good Twin Blade with a really high speed boost, which is pretty cool. He is also going to get this teleport right here, And this TP is going to boost his agility by up to 80% to make his next turn come around faster. It's good if you need to get him across the map, but it does cost some jewels. And finally, we do have this single target attack with no act or daze tagged onto it. It's a nice status to have if you can inflict it, but otherwise somewhat unimpressive if you ask me. And I did forget to equip his teacup before I started, but that is... Let me just pull it up right here. That is going to be another single target attack, and it's going to do absolutely ludicrous amounts of damage. So yeah, there's that. Look forward to seeing that when it hits global. And that is Levi's kit. Alright, so moving on to Mikasa. So Mikasa does have the benefit of being a berserker, which means that, kind of like Black Killer Masamune, as she gets hit, she's going to get jewels, which means Mikasa is a unit that can just keep on trucking, dishing out skill after skill after skill. The problem with Mikasa is that her skills just don't do enough damage. And without access to a good charge up, she just will never output the kind of damage that she needs to. If she had a charge up, she would be great, or at least a lot better than she is. However, she does have a way to boost her damage. On her unique, her Attack on Titan job, she does have a counter that activates at a certain percent rate. And when it activates, it's going to give her like a 60 or 70% charge up, I believe. I'm on the wrong page again. It is a 70% physical attack boost for one turn, so the next attack she does is going to hit significantly harder. However, if you wish to run that, that means that A, you can't use the Berserker reactive, and B, you have to be within 1 unit space of the enemy, which makes it a lot more niche. However, if you are raiding with her, that is going to be the reactive that you're likely going to want to use, as you can sit her right on the raid boss and get those counters in. Now, as for her skills, to start off with, she's going to have this silence. And it's really all it is, it's a silence. And here's her AoE, just like Levi. A lot of these kits are going to look very similar, just so you know. And here is another backstab attack. And I apparently forgot to gather jewels on her, so let's do that real quick. Naturally, her turn is going to take forever to come around. Alright. So let's go down here to the last attack, and it is another backstab attack, once again, with no heal. And you can already see how much less damage she does than Levi. Levi was hitting well over 3k with that, and that was before a charge up. Mikasa can't even hit... Yeah, it's Mikasa. Can't even hit that much. So, here is the final attack, and this is going to be the attack from her scarf. And that is her hardest hitting attack. And it is... Does it have a status inflict? Right, it has move down. It's move -2, so this is a good attack to use on some enemies, as it'll prevent them from moving around the map, causing havoc. However, you really don't use it for the move -2, you use it for the extra damage. And of course it's going to do extra damage to giants, which is going to make it incredibly strong in a couple of maps, and you can move after you use it, even though it was a TP. Now, as for the rest of her kit, it's nothing super special. She has a rate heal of 30% around herself, a TP that's going to boost her slash attack power by 50 for 3 turns, much like Levi had. It's the same kind of TP that Levi had in his sub. It's just going to boost her slash for 3 turns. You're going to need to use that if you want to do any damage at all with her. And finally, she's going to have a small AoE around herself that'll do damage, obviously, around herself. So moving on to Eren. And Eren probably has one of the better, one of the more well-rounded kits here. So to start off with, he has this 5x5 diamond TP, which is pretty nice. And for the next attack he has, this is going to be a self buff that's going to grant him Wind Exploit plus 60 and Giant damage modifier plus 60, which is going to make him quite potent at certain rating. Need to get him some more jewels though, so I can show off the rest of his kit. It's kind of annoying running all four at once. Maybe I should have done them one at a time. Alright, here we go. So, for his next attack, it is going to be a single range attack, and I know that doesn't look like he's doing a ton of damage, but the way this attack functions is that the lower his HP gets, the more damage it should do, if I remember correctly, and it is going to heal him back, I forget if it's 1 for 1, it might not be, it's going to heal him, which will prevent him from dying. This is especially useful in raids, as you can get a good hit off and heal back damage that you had already taken. And once again, we have this long-range single-target TP with the backstab, and it's going to inflict no heal. Super original, right, guys? Now, as for his sub, he's going to have this single-target, one-space attack. This is going to reduce the evasion of the other unit. However, it does have something really cool. This is a strike attack. That's super awesome. There have been a couple maps where I've had him in where I've needed strike damage, and that's come in super handy. He's also going to have that slash plus 50 TP that I said Mikasa has. And finally, he's going to have this map-wide skill. Now, this is going to charm every giant that is capable of being charmed on the map. So in other words, there's going to be a select few collab maps that this is going to be useful in, and that's it. But it is also going to grant him physical attack plus 50 for 3 turns, which is also super nice. Now, Aaron also has a small snowball, which is going to max out at 40% physical attack, 40% physical defense, and 15% agility, and is going to increase 1/5 of that each time he takes damage. He also has a relatively nice counter that I like to use in raids. I sit him right on the boss, and when the boss hits him, if Aaron is with 1 space, he's going to counter and inflict physical defense minus 65% on that boss. This is super helpful for getting extra damage in on raiding. So, Aaron also has the ability to transform. And I have collected enough jewels for this now. And now Aaron is one nude SOB. Now, when you go into giant form, it is going to heal you up to maximum. So it is basically an instant heal all. Just heals all your HP. And each of his giant skills are going to have 1 cast. So to start with, he has a... Well, let me go over here to show it off better. To start with, he's going to have a gap closer, TP, attack. He's going to have a charge up, which is the only real charge up in his kit. He's going to have this nice AoE that's going to do a 3x3 square in front of him and also stun the enemies inside of it. And he's going to have this single target attack, which will inflict pretty good damage. This is like his heaviest hitting attack, if I remember correctly. So let's go ahead and quick charge up with him. So now that he's charged up, we can look at what kind of damage he can actually do. and it's pretty good. Now remember, this is against a neutral enemy. He'd be doing more damage against a wind unit, but I already killed said wind unit, so we can't really show it off right now. Now, after a couple of turns, his giant form is going to wear off. So, the one stipulation I wanted to mention is it was mentioned that his Gate 2 is going to increase his skill count +1. And a lot of you might be thinking, well, what's the big deal? Why would I drop 2 sins on 1 extra skill cast? Because it didn't really look like there was much else changed from the... there wasn't really all that much else changed from his Chopping Spirit to begin with. And that is because his giant form currently only has 1 cast in Japan. You can only cast it once. And with that Gate 2, he should be able to cast it twice. And that's a pretty big deal, as his giant form is relatively powerful. However, there's a couple things I want to mention. One, Aaron will not go into giant form on auto. I've never seen him do it. And whatever, if there is a circumstance that would let him do it, I don't know it. 2, aside from having to manual, it costs 80 joules. Don't get me wrong, it's not as though the joules are super hard to get on Aaron, but 80 joules is still a lot of joules. You might heal yourself, but you're going to come out of the whole ordeal with almost no joules on you, and you might not even have the joules on hand to take advantage of that full heal. So, while his giant form is good, I wouldn't necessarily call it consistent. I mean, you could make it consistent, but then you're kind of forcing things, and I always feel like the best units do what they're supposed to do naturally, and you don't have to go too far above and beyond to pull off certain tricks. Like, take Unagi for example, right? Unagi has that 3-part attack on her Axe Warrior, but the problem is Unagi is too squishy sometimes to get to that second attack depending on the map you're running. If she had a lot more bulk, she would be more reliable, because she'd be able to get to that second attack that gives her the 1-turn guts that would allow her then to get the AoE off. Reliability is a big factor on how good a unit is, and I just do not think Aaron's Titan form is super reliable. So, those are the Attack on Titan units, and I'm sorry I didn't show off their full kits, but if I did, this video would be over an hour, because I'd be doing 4 separate unit reviews, and I know I didn't really go over Hanji. Just take my word for it, she's just not good enough. She just really isn't. We have great supports like Hisham, even Carol to an extent in this group that can just pump joules into your light units. Fiona, for what she's worth, is a decent support. Now, Hanji is a more attack-oriented support, but I just don't think light needs it. I think it's overkill, and I think it's better to just run a different light unit than Hanji. That's just my opinion. Like I said, if you're brand new and you get her, you can just, by all means, use her for her leader skill. But you guys are also about to get Moa in, not necessarily the near future, but she is coming up. And Moa is going to have a better leader skill that you're going to want to run anyways. It's 50% HP, 30% physical attack, and 20 Dark Exploit. So keep that in mind. Hanji's just not really worth it. I will be making more videos because there's still a lot to go over for this collab. This collab was a month long, and it was probably one of, if not the best collab that Japan ever got. We got tons of freebies, there's tons of great things. So I'll be going more into these details in the next set of videos. Expect them to come out over the next day or two, leading up to this dropping in global. Thanks for listening. I apologize for the small technical difficulty I had in the middle of the video. It's just this video is already long and I don't have a ton of time tonight, so I really don't have time to take multiple shots of this. So unless I mess up really big, I plan to just keep going forward, because like I said, there's a lot of information to go over. So thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.